Hello, welcome to Market Avenue. My name is Edward Nyako. Ghana's economy is projected to grow by 4.8% in terms of GDP by the close of this year. That is latest report by Fitch Solutions. But the major concern is about the fact that the debt to GDP ratio is almost 80%. Rising fuel costs and the dollar that is pushing the cedi's value down is a major concern. Today, we heard that the president and his ministers are at a meeting at Peduasi to think through as to what to do. And the question is, should we go out for IMF bailout or stick to austerity? We're going to look at that today with Dr. George Dunfe and Eric Chebua, economists, to find out more whether we should switch to IMF for a bailout or make sure that we cut our expenditure to make sure that we reduce the deficit down to below the 70% threshold. Well, let's speak the business language for today, and then we'll go to the Ghana Stock Exchange to look at how the equities are faring after close of session of trading today. Welcome back. Now we go to the Ghana Stock Exchange today. The composite index is in the positive terrain, 0.19 points. And then we've seen the financial stock segment also 0.34 points. But the year-to-date return is still in the negative terrain, that is negative 1.82%, as against 0.72% in the financial stock index. That means that this a part of the market has now entered into the positive terrain. But let's look at how the indices are for today. And if you look critically, about 10 million shares were traded on the floor of the Ghana Stock Exchange and valued at 11.7 million Ghana cedis, with a market cap moving from 63.983 billion to 63.985 billion. So we've seen a movement of almost about 2 million increase there. That is a good sign. But let's see the equities that brought the change or led the pack in terms of price change. So we've seen Standard Chartered Bank recording no, that is a SIC rather, SIC doing 0.1 Pessoa. SIC recorded 0.1 Pessoa to close trading at 20 Pessoas. And then we've seen equities like MTN doing about 10.8 million shares in terms of shares that were traded, and was valued at 11 million shares as well. Then we've seen ETI did 29,458 shares valued at 5,007 Ghana cedis. We've seen EGH doing 294 shares, and then CPC 200 shares, Cowbank 2,355 shares, Access Bank 9,502 and was valued at 18,000 Ghana cedis. So in total, we've seen about 10.9 million shares traded today, valued at 11.7 million Ghana cedis, and that's how the equity market closed trading today, being the last day of trading for this week. We go for a short break. When we come back, we have Dr. George Dunfe economists at the University of Ghana to talk to you about whether Ghana should go for IMF bailout or we should stick to an austerity plan, or we should just let go and be on autopilot. We'll find out more from him. Hello, welcome back to Market Avenue. Dr. George Domfe, you're welcome to Market Avenue.
Thank you, my brother.
Great. Now, Doc, we've had a relationship with IMF for quite some time now. How many times have we been to IMF when we are in economic challenges so far?
Let me say good evening to you and thanks so much for this platform. And good evening to your cherished listening. My brother, as far as my memory can help, we've been there 15 times, 15 good times. And anytime we went there, we did so well, but immediately afterwards, it becomes a problem. The last time we were there was April 2015, when we found ourselves in this situation today. We find ourselves at that time, debt to GDP ratio was 72.8%, and so debt has become unsustainable. And when we say that it's unsustainable, it means that your debt has reached a situation where the interest payments, it said that anytime you make your interest payments, you do so at the detriment of very essential services you cannot provide to your people. And rather so last year, for example, because we are now in debt crisis, the total revenue of 72 billion, we have to spend 35 billion out of the 72 servicing our debt. And that was the situation we found ourselves in April 2015. Now, that is interesting to know that 2015, when they gave us the bailout, what they call the Standard Credit Facility, we were there till the year ended. Then 2016 we were with them, 2017 we were with them, 2018 we were with them, and 2019 April, it was just 2019 April that program ended. And so today we find ourselves in this, the same situation we were before 2015 when we subscribed to the Standard Credit Facility. I don't think it is good advice to suggest that to go back to that.
Why you think it's not a good advice to go back to the IMF? Because, like you said, our debt is in an unsustainable terrain, and the money is sitting there. Why don't you go there and pick that money and come and pay off your debt than to, deny yourself, like you said, your people essential services?
Yeah, that's a very important question. My brother, if history has got any lessons for us, then we need to go back and assess where we were anytime we subscribe to the air conditionality. And afterwards, what becomes of the economy? What IMF has been doing to Ghana is like this person who needed fish, and then somebody provided fish to the person. Anytime you needed fish, somebody comes to your aid to give you fish. And after you finish eating the fish, and you still feel like taking fish, you want to still go and cry to that person to give you fish. That kind of arrangement in economic development is not sustainable. One very important thing about development is that it should be sustainable. Sustainable is to suggest that once you get one today, tomorrow we expect that you either maintain the one or improve your situation. So you don't come back to where you were. And if you look back to our development trajectory, it's clear that we have been dancing like pendulum. We go up and down, we go up and down. So we go with an IMF, we tend to do very well, and then after they have left us, we go back to where we were. And so our development has not been sustainable. And so IMF teach you faith, it doesn't teach you how to faith. And so if you are not ready to teach us how to faith, why don't we find the way to faith ourselves? So that when next time we need faith, we may not have to run to them. Now then, one major reason why we always need an IMF to come to our aid, it's simply because we don't pay taxes in this country. In fact, I mean, let me give you an example of countries that pay taxes. Denmark, that tax to GDP ratio in Denmark is 48%. You suggest that if you work in Denmark and you earn 100 euros, for example, about 48 euros goes to their government. That is how I can explain it to the layman. Now, if you are in US, the tax to GDP ratio in US, 25%. What does that mean? It means that if you earn $100 in US, $25 goes to the government. Germany, that is tax to GDP ratio in Germany is 38. You can tell that if you are in Germany and you earn income of 100 euros, 38 euros goes to government. But what happens in Ghana? If you are in Ghana and you earn 100 euros, only 12 cities go to the government.
But Doc, somebody will say that. And so Ghana is not even able to meet the sub-regional average. It suggests that we are not paying taxes. We have so many people who earn millions of incomes in Ghana, they don't pay taxes. If you go to East Lagos, people have put up mansions, they have given them out of rent. The laws of the land are so clear that every rent should attract 8.5% tax. Let's be sincere to ourselves. How many landlords collect rent and pay 8.5% out of it to government? Nobody. And my brother, the money that exchanges hands every day in Kumasi and Accra and it's about rent, it's over millions of dollars. Accra, Kumasi, our city. And so if we sincere enough to even pay our rent, it can help government. Because people are trying to go to an island. If you go there and they give you money, it's not for free. They will place interest on it. Quite apart from that, whatever money that they give you, they are going to follow you to your economy and tell you what you should do. One thing with an island that I don't like so much is that they always have prescription, one prescription for every country that will go there. It's just like that doctor who says somewhere, anybody who comes, all he knows is the paracetamol. So if you go and your head, you have problem with your head, paracetamol. If it is your stomach, paracetamol. If it is your leg, paracetamol. That's what they do. They have one prescription, one policy and a prescription. As soon as you go to them and you tell them you have a problem, they don't look at why your problem came, but they rather give you the solution, which is their prescription and conditionality. But
don't employ your people, and your wage bill is so big. Cut your wage bill. Don't engage more people into the public service. Don't do this. They don't have time to come and understand your problem. Now, as soon as you go to them, they give you solutions. And that to me is the significant reason why most of the decisions that solutions that they prescribe to us don't work or they are not sustainable.
All right.
So it is high time we decided to take our destiny into our own hands, investigate into our own problems. We are very good, fantastic economies in this country. Let us assemble them. Let them investigate and let them understand how we can get out of where we are and the solution that they will prescribe. Let's try to find the solution internally. Let's generate the solution here. The problems are here. Their solutions should come from Ghana. And once we do that, that is what will give us what we are looking for, sustainable development. Otherwise, if we go back to them, in the next 5-3 years, we have to talk about the same story. And I don't think that is where we want Ghana to go.
But Doc, you alluded to the fact that we are not paying taxes as expected. Now, if we don't go to IMF, the only option is taxes. But you mentioned property rate and so for people are not paying. How are we going to change the narrative this time around to encourage people to pay? Because we've seen the CD flying. We're now doing about almost 8 cedis per dollar. We've seen fuel prices skyrocketing over 10 cedis per liter. Now, if we are to stick to what we say we're not going to IMF, how do we convince Ghanaians? How do we educate Ghanaians or encourage them to get on board this train to make sure that we generate the needed revenue to be able to reduce the deficit that we are facing?
Yeah, that's a very important question, my brother. And so how do we get people to pay? Unfortunately, the country is too polarized along political lines. And that to me is the day. The country is too polarized along political lines. And so anytime a government is a party is in opposition, it preaches against tax payments. That has been the order. And so now it's as if I mean, government of the day is very wicked if they ask citizens to pay tax. And so I think we need to stop that thing here right away and understand that without taxes you cannot develop the country. After all, mama doesn't rain anymore, and there's nothing like free lunch anywhere. This noble tax mechanism that has been put on the table, I'm talking about the new levy, is not bad at all. Whatever problem that it is, I wish the opposition would see has, we see the need to sit with the government for correcting Georgia over it. Let's sit on the table. What is it that they think is not good? After all, as we say, he who knows the path does not know his path is crooked. If you have them go the best one of it, tell them, that you are, your path is crooked. But we just have to fight about it. And I wish the opposition would stick with the government, and then we convince the Ghanaian citizens that without taxes, we cannot move forward. Without taxes, we will forever depend on the West, on IMF and the Bretton Woods and institutions. We have dependence on them since early 1930s, early 1980s. Today, we are still struggling to find our feet. So now, let us understand that this is the way to go. Let's encourage the people to pay taxes. And as we do that, let's also, as it were, educate the public. Educate them for them to know that if you go to confirmatory today and doctors are there to attend to you, it is because government pays goods and services. If you go to Kolebu today and doctors are there to attend to you, it's because government pays goods and services. What is more? Today, if somebody slaps you, I'm sure you will run to the police station. Why is the police working? It's because government are paying goods and services to the interior ministry. And so these are the taxes that we pay, that government would use to pay to government agencies and ECG to provide like a defense ministry especially, so that people cannot enter Ghana and do anything, because the military is always guarding the country against external and aggression. And they use the taxes that we pay to do all these things. And so I think it's high time we educate the public for them to understand they need to pay taxes. And then let them also know that it is the taxes that you pay that we use to develop this country, apart from the infrastructure, the capital and expenditure. The taxes that we pay that is being used to maintain all the government functionaries, including the ministry, government agencies, and all that, the department, and so let us understand this, because some are here this all the time, that we have been paying taxes. What do they use our money for? Not so long ago, I'm a university professor studied. My own university. And a professor studied. So they are asking us to pay our university. What have they used? What we have been paying over the years to them? What have they used it for? And that was very fascinating. When I heard about that, I said, wow, where are we going as a country? Because last year alone, my brother, government social revenue was 72 billion Ghana cedis. Out of these 72 billion Ghana cedis that Ghana was able to break in as revenue, 35 billion out of that went into interest payments. What is the interest payment? Interest payments are the interest we pay on loans procured by the past government, including some of the loans the current government has also taken that are mature. And so we spent 35 out of the 72 on interest payments. Far apart from the government spent 34 billion last year on remuneration. And you as a professor, you receive your salaries from January to December. And instead of this, to educate the public, they need to pay taxes. You are playing into the gallery to say we need from Ghana. You know, and so people will come out to tell people that payment of taxes and need to pay taxes is able. If that is so, then those people they should stop working for government. Because when the very person who have come out to preach against taxes, you go up to your bank to collect salary. Where is that connected? Money doesn't rain anymore. It is simple as that. You need to understand. Money doesn't rain anymore. It is the taxes that you pay, I pay, we pay, that government has been using to, develop this country, my brother.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. George Domfair, economist at the University of Ghana, for your time. Now we're going to switch to Eric Cheba, for also an economist, to find out more from him. Should we go for an austerity program this time around? And if we adopt that, which areas should we cut or reduce our expenditure? Because if we do the mathematics very well, the debt to GDP ratio, we at 80%, over 344 billion Ghana cedis. And if you do the extrapolation, it's almost like every Ghanaian is owing more than 10,000 Ghana cedis in terms of debt to the GDP ratio. So if we are doing the austerity, where do we cut? And where shouldn't we cut? Should we forgo the free SHS? That's what some are saying. Eric Cheba, for everyone online, thank you very much for your time. So, Eric, are you there? Hello, Eric.
Hello, Bishop.
Great. Now, Eric, I'm looking at IMF or austerity. Now, we've just spoken to Dr. George Domfair. He's talked to us about the need not for us to go to the IMF. So the option is austerity measures. In your view, what areas deserve that kind of attention in terms of reducing expenditure significantly to bring down the debt to GDP ratio?
Yes, Bishop, that is a very great question, because every country that has debt crisis and then a liquidity crisis, the only thing that you need to do is to look at the way that you do spend your budget. That is it. So if you're looking at Ghana, as I'm speaking to you now, we have a deficit in terms of we don't have any physical space. So the question is, as you said, IMF or austerity. And for me, as an economist, I would say that IMF should be the thing of the past. I mean, since after independence, Ghana have been with the Bretton Woods institutions for more than 17 times. And we could clearly see the implications that comes as a result of going to IMF, whereby all your social interventions will be cut off, and then some government workers will also be laid off. We all saw during 2015 what actually even happened. Even there was a huge deficit in the health sector where they needed doctors and nurses. But because of the IMF programs, we were given an ultimatum not to employ any doctor into the system. So for me, as I always say, that there are so many ways that the government can raise revenue without even going out there, as people are saying, tax. Fine, you can never build a nation or a country without a tax. But on the other hand, I always say that currently we are living in an era of what we call financial fantasy. The real finance or the real economics that we are experiencing is not what we are studying in school. The real finance and economy is what is happening on grounds now. So what is going on this earth? Now things has changed from manual to electronic. Everything has totally changed. So if we're a country and if we want to move and go with what the state or the country or the current economic situation in the world is concerned, then you must dive yourself into the pattern of it. And when you look at Africa, we are not going into these systems. So I always say that until we follow the pattern of the white man, always we will be a slavery to the hands of the white man. Now, let me give you one example. Let's even forgo the tax. I will not even talk about it. There are so many ways. One, Ghana needs to create what we call a platform, an investment platform. That is one. Now, so with this platform, Ghana would leverage this platform to all Ghanaians in diaspora. If you look at in 2019, the remittances that came to this country was 8.9 billion US dollars, which is 8 times than the e-levy that we are talking about. That was in 2019. And it was even higher than gold, bauxite, cocoa that we did exported into the foreign country. So if the government will create a platform and leverage it to all the Ghanaians in diaspora, that this is what we have. You can name it like BOG Coin or BOG Bond. And you regulate it, fully regulated by Bank of Ghana. Bishop, if you do this within a year, the amount of money Ghana will raise, it will shock. It will shock you. That is why I said the real economy that is happening now, we don't study in the school. We don't study at the university. It's on grounds. Now, let me ask you a question. If you look at the richest people that we see, we've been hearing their names on grounds and that, none of them is who has PhD or educatedly well-informed, or who truly understands the fundamentals and the principles of studying or academician. Actually, my Ghana, let's look at Ghana. Let's look at Magdan. Despite Canada, Japan, these are the guys that when it comes to education, they don't. You never see them. But why are they rich? They are rich because they understand the principles of finance and economy on this earth.
Do you mean to say that? So do you mean to say that? Wait. Do you mean to say that we should bring them to run the economy? Is that what you are trying to say?
Sorry.
Now, okay. I'm asking if you say they have the money. Fantastic. But the question is, austerity measures. What do we do? Which area should we cut? You are talking about raising funds. Yes, fantastic idea.
Yes, in economy we say a scale of preference. Everybody has its own preferences.
Okay.
There are some groups who will say that free SHS is their preference.
Okay.
Others will say that free SHS is not their preference. Maybe health insurance or one district, one factory, or school feeding program or NAPCO is their preference. Irrespective of it, everybody has his own preference. So now, in order not to cut other expenditure and all these funds, now the e-levy has become a blowout. What are some of other alternatives that the government can use to raise revenue within a twinkle of an eye?
Eric, I think you need to come to the studio. If you wouldn't mind, join us in the studio, go on Monday, and then we look at this in detail. Especially, I'm interested about the diaspora coin you're talking about, the Bank of Ghana should regulate. So, unfortunately, this is our time will permit us today. We end Market Avenue this week. On this note, my name is Edward Nyakun. God will come your way again tomorrow, Monday. Shalom.